Hello everyone, this is the uncle whom you never want to miss, even though you've been missing me for some time now, Uncle C. How is everybody?
Good. Welcome back, Uncle C. It's nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Actually, I think I'm the most excited person to have you back, really. So I was talking to someone, she listened to the podcast, and first of all, I'm Tosin, by the way. Well, you guys know, it's only my voice you've been hearing for the past couple of weeks. So anyways, I was talking to someone about the podcast and how this energy thing, how Uncle C is the guy with the energy. You know, I don't really have that much energy. If I need to interview someone, I need to find someone with energy as well, so that we don't just sound like we're trying to put, you get the gist.
Yes.
But she was not like, oh yeah, that it seems like Chika has a natural talent for, you know, his own energy has a way of actually just bringing out the energy in you as well. That you're more energetic. And I was like, yeah, I need Uncle C back. So welcome back, man. It's a relief.
Thank
How
you.
you doing? How's it been?
Very well. I just had a baby. On the 21st of February, and it was kind of cool seeing a little human. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of things. A lot of things, actually. I do hope that we make a podcast to that, really.
Oh, we have to.
Yes.
We have to,
yes,
definitely.
Really.
I'm just, you guys just rest and chill a little.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's something we'd also need to put some serious thought into.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There are a lot of things. Things around.
Would a podcast be enough?
Maybe a series. Maybe just like what we did with narcissism.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things to talk about. So, what exactly is support? What exactly does support look like? We hear a lot about postpartum depression for women. How about postpartum depression for men? What kind of support can we also render to our husbands? And also, how can we help the husbands to support the wives? Then, with respect to the fact that most of life is chemistry, what exactly is the impact of hormonal imbalance and hormonal changes in how we live, especially with all of this? So it's been a lot of things. You know, for the first time, I learned some new words. Have you ever heard the word bilirubin before?
Come again?
Bilirubin.
No,
okay,
I haven't.
Yes, you see that.
So what does that mean?
It's actually a chemical component of your blood.
Okay.
Yes. So when your red blood cell breaks down, a yellowish pigment, the yellowish pigment is called bilirubin. So when a baby is born, their livers are not usually mature enough to be able to deal with the breakdown of the red blood cells.
Okay.
So because when they were in their mommy's womb, all of that is taken away through the placenta. But now their liver is not able to deal with it. So you see that after 3 days, they have what we call physiological jaundice. So the bilirubin levels are usually high. This is usually measured in milligram per deciliter. Usually high enough to actually change the color of their eyes and all. And the known treatment for it is phototherapy. So what that simply means is they are put under this UV ray, blue colored light, for a while to help break down the red blood cells faster, so they can be able to urinate it or shit it out. And the experience was interesting for me because I was able to stumble on an innovator. I never would have thought that I would say this about someone from Bayelsa, to be truthful, because anytime we think Bayelsa, at times we only think of oil, we only think of creeks, right, and the likes, and Yenagua. But I stumbled on an organization called Tiny Hearts. So there's this lovely lady, her name is Virtue Oboro, and some years back in 2016, she had a baby, and after a while, after 2 days of birth, they realized that the baby was very yellow. So in her words, she actually thought that baby was fair. It took her mother, who was a nurse, to come around and say, come, take your child to the hospital. And then she took the child to the teaching hospital, and they, after testing, told her that the child was jaundiced, right? But the issue now was the hospital had few phototherapy units available. So there was none to put the child under. And the problem with jaundice for young infants is, if not tackled early enough, it could actually go to the brain and cause a sickness that starts with KER. I don't know the full name, but the idea is it leads to brain damage, and that is actually a long-lasting damage. So your child could actually grow to become like an imbecile. So part of what they try to do is make sure that the child is given that kind of treatment, the phototherapy treatment, to ensure that these things don't get to the head. So in her case, she wasn't able to get that treatment on time. Then somebody eventually left the hospital, and then there was a unit that was available, but it was already a bit late. So you know what they did? They had to do what they call EBT, which is something around, I forgot what the E is, but BT is blood transfer. So they put a tube in the baby's navel and sucked out his blood and put in fresh blood. So they had to suck out the jaundice blood and put in fresh blood. So you can imagine the trauma. Yeah. Can imagine the trauma.
So not for a baby to go through.
Exactly. But this lady looked at that and began to think. She was a graphic designer. She's a graphic designer because she actually runs a printing press in Bayelsa, a large printing press. Virtue, I'm giving you free adverts here. And she thought about it and said, what could be done? Because if you want to buy a phototherapy unit, it's in dollars, right?
Yeah.
And even the more interesting part is when the doctors are able to run tests to check the bilirubin level of the baby, they usually have to do it with injections. They have to take the baby's blood, at times 4 milliliter. You know what 4 mils of blood is? It's a lot. And you don't easily find the veins of a baby. Your baby is crying, screaming everywhere, kicking all over the place. And then they have to get out the blood and do this like every 72 hours as a minimum. Right? But we do have a technology called Billy Check, where all you need to do is put a scanner on the forehead of the baby, and you can be able to get the bilirubin levels. But do you know how much that instrument cost? $7,500.
Oh, wow.
So not many hospitals in Nigeria can afford it, even outside of Nigeria. Right? So going back, I was just trying to explain that this infant jaundice, it's a big deal, right? So going back, she looked at it that, how can she be able to come up with an innovative solution that would ensure that children who suffer from jaundice in their infancy get quick help? And that's how she came up with a product she called Crib Aglo. It's just a little box with the lights, and they are very portable. In fact, she did a 2.0 that is collapsible, so you can actually fold it and put it in your bag and go to wherever you want to go to. And she has been able to push it now. It's being used in many hospitals in Bayelsa, and 3 units have found their way to Abuja, and she's getting all sorts of accolades all over the world. BBC has her recorded, I think CNN also has her recorded.
Wow.
You can check her out. And what I learned from it, I told her, was her ability to have sat down, looked at a problem that she passed through, look at a very difficult situation that she passed through, and then create a solution out of it that is going to help hundreds of thousands of other people. And it's on this ground that I can stand and now say, Happy International Women's Day, because these are the kind of stories that should be told. These are the kind of modern-day Harriet Tubman, women who escape from slavery and go back to the plantation to bring people out of slavery. That's exactly what Virtue's story signifies to me.
Yeah, that's actually really brilliant. And so you mentioned that the BBC, CNN have had stories with her, but it seems like not enough noise is being made in Nigeria about her.
That's so. Another thing is, I had a discussion with my sister, so probably would share stories of women, right? My younger sister, and I was teasing her. I was like, "Why are you in Port Harcourt? You don't even have a job in Port Harcourt yet. Why don't you go and stay with my father in Aba?" She was pissed. She was like, "What would I see in Aba? What are the opportunities in Aba? Why do you think people go to Lagos?" And she opened my eyes to something. That at times, the location you find yourself speaks a lot to how much success you'll be able to gain. If Virtue was a Lagos-based, you would hear about her.
Okay.
So it's just like saying you have Paystack opened in Yenegua or any of these tech companies. Do you know that we have tech companies in Akure?
Yeah, I heard.
How many of them do you see on the news? Coven Labs, run by my very good friend Olushola Amuson, is in Akure. But everybody would hear Yaba as the ICT center of Nigeria. Is that totally the truth?
So do you think even these industries do themselves a sort of disservice? Because I'll think, so if you're a tech company in Lagos, for example, or a tech community, speaking more inclusively, in Lagos, and the goal is really just to have a thriving tech space, I don't think you should be comfortable just being crowned the, tech community of Lagos. Shouldn't you be looking to spread, this across Nigeria? And I believe one of the best ways to actually grow is through collaboration. So it's almost as if even people within the industry aren't trying to be so helpful to others within it.
Well, I really might not be able to speak a lot to that, because I feel that the ease of doing business in Nigeria generally is a bit difficult. The easiest business that one could have run in the country would probably be a food restaurant, but you need to hear food sellers tell you their story. You really need to. The other day I was driving in front of Total.
Yeah.
And by that Total traffic light, so we had the hawkers who were coming to sell different stuff to us. And while they were there, the next thing I saw, everybody was running. Why? Tax force. Last 2 weeks, we nearly had an issue at the presidential, where they said tax force picked up a money changer, and then when they dropped him, a 72-year-old man, the guy collapsed and died.
I heard about
that.
There
That
was some riots.
That could have really escalated. That could have escalated. Then, not to even talk about the issue at Rumokoro. You heard about the problem.
What happened at Rumokoro?
Where the bus drivers still had run-ins with tax force, and then the tax force kept seized the bus and threw a bus driver in jail. And then the guys in that axis said they are not going to ride.
Wow.
Yes, this just happened just this week, some 3 days ago. Traffic everywhere. And this is what we call, now this is people, the lowest of the low, doing business.
Yeah.
How much more up there? All the issues that happen with MTN. How would MTN plan an expansion when every single government parastatal wants to slap them a penalty or wants to collect some form of tax or monetary remuneration from them? So that's why, speaking to this, I don't know if I am in the right position to actually say anything, because it's kind of difficult doing business here, except maybe for church business. But any other, it's a bit difficult.
So I also wonder how much of Virtue's anonymity do you think is as a result of the fact that she is a woman?
Who knows? It could actually have played a lot. It could. We are beginning to accept the fact that women should be given a right to speak. Right? But still, it's still strange to a lot of people. We just had a baby, and you can almost instantly see how much is required of the woman to step up and be strong.
Yeah.
Even more than the man. The most the man is told is take care of your wife. But what does take care of your wife mean?
Really mean? And do you really take care of your wife?
Exactly. Because the way we've also been able to even reduce that idea of take care of your wife is bring money. And then my question is, I'm married to a working class mother, so
she can bring money.
She can bring her own money. And that's where you see all the Twitter wars come up from. So of what use now is the men, in quotes.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the idea is, I do hope she gets more publicity, because she has done a great job.
Yeah.
The crib worked for my baby. I requested for it. She sent it from Bayelsa. I got it here in Port Harcourt. I used it at 3,000 naira per day. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Against the clinic I was in, where I was paying for room, I was paying for services, and then the phototherapy unit was about 5,000 a day. So I was able to save over 50k.
Oh, that's incredible.
By bringing the crib to my house. I was able to convince my doctor that, listen, I need to take my baby. Said, boy, you need your baby under a phototherapy unit. I said, I have a phototherapy unit. I showed her something I could just carry around. And I put the baby here, and in 3 days,
That's incredible.
In 3 days, his bilirubin levels came down to normal.
That's some really...
Yes, that's cost saving, very cost effective.
Wow.
Very cost effective. I was even looking at it that God blesses me more financially. I intend buying her cribs because she told me that a unit costs about 150,000. Okay. So I know that in my village we have a medical health center that we set up. I intend buying some, probably 3 to 5, and dropping it there for them because most babies suffer from physiological jaundice. We don't know what causes it, but at least 60 to 70% of every child born would pass through that. And all you need is that you need to be able to manage them so it doesn't escalate. If not, it shouldn't be an issue. And then maybe before we leave this, for those who don't have access to phototherapy unit, the traditional means of actually combating jaundice has always been sunlight. So you take your child outside to the sun. But if you live in Port Harcourt like I do, you realize that we don't even have too much exposure to sunlight.
Because of suits?
Soot is one of them. So you bring out your child under the sunlight and then you are exposing your child to bad air quality, which could affect the child's lung. That's 1. 2, most of our where we live are all covered areas and common areas. So do you want to be on the road where your car is where your neighbor is trying to repark to have your child?
Then I think there's even also the issue of maybe babies are not supposed to exactly be left under sunlight.
So they tell you traditionally that it's the sunlight that you see between the hours of 8 and 10.
Okay.
But again, there's really no pure science. But I was able to do some research, man. Delivery is very interesting. I was able to do some research, and actually, I think Stanford University actually ran a test with over 143 babies in Lagos to actually prove that sunlight actually works in breaking down jaundice. So I was quite impressed when I saw that, there's actually a paper to support this. But again, the idea is with the blue light, you are aware that the wavelength of the light has been fine-tuned to be able to actually work for the child. You can keep the child in safe places where people don't necessarily have to touch the child, people don't see the child is not exposed to any other risk, unlike if it's sunlight in a city like Port Harcourt with our air quality.
Oh, I can see you've learned a lot from being a father.
My brother, this
has taught you so much.
My brother,
and I'm only wondering how much your wife has actually learned from it.
It changes your life. It changes your life, and I think what I'm seeing the most, and I would like to apply when I get back to work, is the understanding that look, it actually does take two to tango. Shout out to every single parent out there, and when I'm talking about single parent, I'm also referring to mothers who have non-attentive husbands, and vice versa, for the sake of fight, and vice versa. Because it actually takes two to be able to work these things out. And again, happy International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day. We all hope that this journey we have started to bringing women to the fore, getting rid of toxic masculinity, closing up the equal pay gap, actually all become a reality for our daughters who are next in line.
And I think these conversations are actually important, the ones that actually address the various issues that women go through. And the truth of the matter is sometimes the conversations come off as tiring. Like how many times we've heard you guys want to keep going on about this over and over again, like let us rest. And for those of you who have been following the American elections, the Democratic primaries, Elizabeth Warren recently dropped out, and when she did, she said something that I thought was profound. She said if she mentioned sexism as regards the reason for her loss at the primaries, because she was really dusted by Biden and Sanders, she said if she mentions sexism, people are going to go, oh, whiner. But if at the same time she says it's not a result of sexism, there are several women across the world, millions actually, who would be thinking, are you serious? Like, what world do you live in? And I thought that's really a terrible dilemma, because on one hand, I imagine women in some situations, in some settings, might be thinking, oh, I don't want to play the sex card, the gender card.
Yeah.
But that really is the issue most of the time.
Yeah.
So how, now in hindsight, I'm thinking we might have actually done better bringing a woman on this podcast, this episode.
I totally do agree.
Maybe we should look to doing that.
Yes, we should. So guys, if you are a lady out there and you feel that you can actually be able to speak to this topic, hit us up, chat us on our WhatsApp, send us an email, or leave a comment on the Spreaker website so that we can arrange something. We really would like to share in this perspective, and it doesn't mean we are simps, because I never knew that there's a word called simp. So if as a man it seems like you have some feministic alignment, or it seems like you are in support of women growth and women freedom, you are called a simp. SIMP. I saw that on Twitter and I was like, why? But just why?
So wait, does the word just mean that you have some alignment with women's rights?
Yeah.
So is that meant to be an insult?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
As in the application I've seen, it was actually almost like an insult. Or even the most recent ones where a guy tries to speak to a girl's issue and they're like, bros, they not go give you knack, forget them. On Twitter, like, how exactly do we think? Like, these are serious issues, and we just keep trying to make it banal.
Yeah, it's shameful to say the least sometimes, but I won't even get into that. I refuse to be detracted today from focusing on the wonderful things that women all around the world are doing, and some of the issues that we need to come together to help overcome. So I think for the people who want to complain and bang their heads all they want, they should, and they can continue to do that. Hopefully one day they come around. But so the reason I mentioned in hindsight we should have brought a woman on the episode, I was going to ask, like, I can't even wrap my head around how women begin to navigate when they should speak about these issues and when they shouldn't. Because as much as the easy answer would be, oh, they should speak about it all the time, you shouldn't be afraid to speak your truth.
Yeah.
But this is a world of consequences.
Yes.
These are women who have dreams, who have aspirations. These are situations where they might speak their truth and they are made to pay. Mm-hmm. And they know they are paying for speaking their truth, but they almost cannot do anything about it because the person who is punishing them isn't saying to the world that he is punishing them for speaking their truth. And
the funny thing is, most times when they are giving some form of advice, wisdom is told to be the ability not to speak about the persecutions that you face. So they'd be like, oh, yeah, he's harassing you, forget about it. Just manage him. And manage him. Once you get what you want, you keep moving. By the time you get the promotion, you move to a different department. You will not have to be disturbed by him again. So if you talk now, he can take your job from you. Those are real conversations.
Yeah. And what's painful is sometimes even the people who give these conversations actually mean well.
Yeah. I'm saying it's wisdom. It is wisdom. And these are the serious issues.
It's a tough world. We can talk about, men being more aware and in line, knowing about these things all we want, but how quickly can that happen? How soon will that happen?
This journey has been on for quite a while, but I believe we are closer to the end than we were some time back. There was a time I was reading on the topic suffragettes. I don't know if you have ever seen that. And there's actually a movie on it, and it spoke about women in the UK who were fighting for women's right to vote. And when you hear what these women did, right, you probably see that, well, for the mere fact that these people are giving a lot, we have no choice than to give.
Yeah.
One of them actually died trying to make a point by running onto a racetrack. So the monarchs at the time, his horse actually hit her and killed her. Many of them were imprisoned over the same woman right. So would keep fighting, but how long it will take, I really don't know. It's almost like asking, when will Jesus come?
Man, well, like you said, we just have to keep fighting, and fighting we will. But I would hate for us to end the podcast on a low note, by focusing on the injustices that they face. And I think today should be more about celebration, really.
Yeah. So I celebrate all the women out there. Virtue, Oboro, thank you for saving my child's life.
Your wonderful wife as well.
Yeah. So somebody wrote and said that, guys, this is the International Women's Day. So that message you're about to write, that your wives are doing well motherhood, keep it to yourself. I was like, man, it's you. Egungun guys, be careful.
Now express you, they go.
Boy, and then the next thing, someone said too late. They've already sent me one, and this man was writing, mothers suffer a lot to take care of the family. They take care of the family, and these women are like, we don't think that's the theme. What International Women's Day stand for? Because the theme this year is equal for better. Right? Yeah. So I don't think it's talking about how much your mother or your wife cleans the house or
suffer head, basically.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly. What we are talking about is, can we be given the same platform, the same pedestal? Can an Elizabeth Warren run an election in the world without the sexist card played against her?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we are looking out for.
Well, I think one of the important things we can do is to just keep having these conversations.
Yes,
because, say, for example, the conversations that we had about, the kind of messages men should send. Yeah. I'm sure some men have learned that, it's not about celebrating sufferhead. That's not what celebrating women is about. So these conversations, as simple as they might seem, as simple as they might sound, according to some of your Twitter folks, they're important, and we cannot afford to stop having them. It is from conversations that people learn. Some won't learn, but we can't allow them hold us down.
Yes.
We keep moving, keep talking, keep doing that which takes us forward.
Yeah, and besides, the only way a truth is reinforced is by reinforcing it. If you don't keep talking about a thing, then it loses its power to hold people or to hold their conscience. And then when that idea loses that power, some other idea takes place. And that's why even scripture will say truth has failed, right? And even those who go away from lies are persecuted. It's in the book of Isaiah. So how then do we tackle lies? Is by constantly and consistently speaking to the truth. All right, so thank you guys. It's nice being with you guys again after a long while. I hope we would keep the tempo up, and apologies with delayed delivery. Let's always remember. yes.
Tell your stories, because I thought you were pointing at me for a different reason.
No.
That's how I was laughing. But we should tell our stories. We need to tell our stories all the time, because we are our stories, and we cannot let others tell our stories for us. It was not their experience, it is not their story. They will never tell it as brilliantly as you would. The last thing you want is for someone to make less of you by telling less of your story. So let's keep telling our stories, and let's keep listening to the stories of others as well. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to share the podcast. Don't forget to engage. Let us have your comments, your thoughts. Don't forget, if you would like to actually come to speak to us further, or speak with us rather,
or be a guest on the podcast
further on any issues, any topics, we would be more than happy to welcome you on the show. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful week, and enjoy.